All right, everyone, we'll get started. So hello and welcome to Scientolic's final webinar in our series, Engineering Solutions for a Better World. Today, we're having our webinar titled High Voltage Insights, Studying Electrical Engineering. Yeah, before we get started, I'll just give you all a quick rundown on Scientolic and who we are as an organization. So Scientolic is a student-run nonprofit, and our aim is to provide free and accessible STEM resources that are fun for all teens who are interested in various STEM fields. So a big part of our organization are our webinars, like the one that you're watching right now. So we have our annual conferences, and as in addition to our bi-monthly regular webinars that we host regularly. And aside from that, we also have our magazine. So we just published the first issue of our engineering themed edition that goes hand in hand with our conference series. So be sure to check that out on our website after this webinar. And yeah, so today our guest will be Kyran, who is a student at MIT. And yeah, we're very happy for him to be joining us today. So Kyran, would you mind giving us a brief introduction of yourself?
Yeah, let me turn on my camera real quick. All right, so I'm studying electrical engineering and computer science at MIT, like mentioned. And then another cool fun fact about me is I actually started robotics when I was 8 years old, and I competed in some competitions known as First, RoboFest, WRO, and more. This summer, I actually interned at Amazon, and I'm working on Project Kuiper, which is Amazon's department where they're sending internet access through satellites to people who don't have access to internet if they're in like remote areas. And then another thing is I've hosted some camps for Girl Scouts as well as done uh, workshops for robotics in terms of like reaching out to the community, stuff like similar to this webinar where we interest students in STEM. And then another really cool thing that I was able to do was with my robotics team, we met with Governor J.B. Pritzker, who's the governor of Illinois, where I'm from, and we established March 10th last year as a STEM Education Day. So that was a really cool um, activity that my team did. And then outside of robotics and stuff, I also play chess. I like making 3D animations, like just playing around with that. And then I also do club volleyball.
Wonderful. Thank you so much. Yeah, here's just a reminder to our attendees, if you happen to have any further questions that we didn't cover during the webinar, feel free to leave them in the chat. So at the end, we'll have a live Q&A session where I'll answer all of your questions. And yeah, without further ado, we'll get started with the questions. So our first set of questions are academic space. So first off, what inspired you to pursue electrical engineering?
Yeah, that's a good question. So I'd say when I was younger, I actually wanted to be an inventor. And there's no such job like inventor actually, but at the time I didn't know this. So it was actually going through um like elementary school. There was a club in my elementary school for robotics, and it was just like making those little Lego robots and like competing. So I started off through that, and working my way through that, I kept doing that throughout middle school and stuff. And then over time, like I learned by being in that club, you start to learn like things like careers like engineering and computer science exist. And so that's how I actually found out that the kind of stuff that I was interested in, like building stuff, making things, that's actually the job of an engineer. So I am able to like kind of pursue what I originally wanted to be, which was an inventor by being an engineer, an electrical engineer.
Yeah, that's wonderful. Thank you so much for sharing. All right, so next up, what is college life like? What's sort of been your highlights from your experience at MIT so far?
Yeah, so I just finished my first year of college last year, so I'm going into my second year, sophomore year. Um, and I would say it's definitely very different from high school. Um, I'm living on campus, so I'm we're constantly like you're constantly living with your friends and like you're close to like a lot of like social aspects and like you have that you have that kind of closer bond. You can make closer bonds with people, and like there's a lot of opportunities for fun and doing things that you want to do, especially because in college you're pursuing like a major and like you're focused in the areas you want to be studying. I remember in high school that was one thing I would be like usually not interested in certain classes like as much as other classes just because they were required you had to take them, but in college it's more like you get to do the classes you want to do, which is really nice. um, and yeah, in terms of like one thing that's been the highlight of my first year at MIT, so MIT actually has this program called Europe, which is undergraduate research opportunities, and I was able to do that program during my winter break basically. And in that, I was able to do some like research with other college researchers on like these pollution sensors, which was a really cool experience. I got to work with a real project and like a real team that's publishing research and doing great things in the world. So that's been one of those highlights, I'd say.
Hmm. How did you like get yourself involved in these activities outside of your classes?
Yeah, definitely. I'd say like it's definitely like something you have to like take advantage of and be like proactive with. Um, Being in high school, I feel like a lot of it is more advertised to you, and it is advertised to you in college as well, but you have to be more like proactive and like going for it and like researching what you want to do if your school has the kind of stuff that you're interested in, and then reaching out to people like maybe you can contact a professor or you can like show up to meetings even if you may not know anyone there. You have to just be able to put yourself out there, and then you can do the things that you want to do, which is good.
Mhm. For sure, thank you. All right, next up, what advice would you give to high school students who are interested in electrical engineering?
Yeah, so I'm not sure if you guys are high school students, but high school is definitely one of those times where you can definitely set yourself up for like a good like set yourself up to accomplish the goals and dreams that you want. It's a great time to be interested in this like kind of stuff like engineering and other science STEM related activities. So I'd say for if you're interested in electrical engineering, you definitely need like a college degree. So I'd say start by researching on your own or even asking your counselor for colleges that would be good for electrical engineering. And then that goes into taking classes like AP physics and math and stuff that would help you get to where you want to go. So with that research, figure out what you need to do to get where you want to go and start pursuing that. And I'd also recommend like joining any clubs or activities related to electrical engineering, such as like this interview is even a good experience as well to learn about it. Or like I did, I joined robotics club or science Olympiad. These kind of clubs will set you up to allow you to like learn what it's like and see if you'll actually enjoy it long term, because that's definitely something. There's a lot of opportunities for students to experience what it's like. So that goes for everything, even if it wasn't electrical engineering. Let's say like you wanted to do, I don't know, pre-med or doctor or something. I'd say try to put yourself in positions where you learn what it's like to to do those activities, and then you'll find out if this is the path for you.
Yeah, that's great advice. Thank you so much. All right, so next up, our second set of questions are kind of more general and not super academic space. So I know you mentioned that before, but could you elaborate on what projects or internships you've worked on?
Yeah, so yeah, like I said, I did do that Europe, which I explained a little bit, which is research, and that was a really fun project. Another thing that I kind of mentioned was the Amazon internship that I was doing this summer. So this internship was really cool. So for this, I actually worked on more mobile development, like apps. So like when you have apps on your phone, like I was working on one of those, like a feature in an app, which was really cool to work on as part of like a big company like Amazon. You really learn a lot of the corporate, like how things work when you're in a big company, which is very different from how how I've how I'm used to doing things, or how anyone may be used to doing things like in small businesses or individual projects. So that's one of those benefits of getting experience with internships, is you get like real industry experience of how they do it when they're like a big company. So that was one thing that I did this summer. And then another project that I would say um, was pretty cool is in high school. My high school had classes called Project Lead the Way, which is like engineering type classes where you can take them as electives. So I was doing that program. And then the capstone class for that program is called Engineering Design and Development, where you actually work with a team to develop your own little product, and like you research problems and then you come up with the solution and design it all. So for that, I was actually part of a team that developed a device that would help teenagers get better sleep. So that was a really cool product that we worked on. We actually built out a whole prototype. I got to use like a lot of my electrical engineering skills. Like we prototyped it with Arduino. I don't know if you guys are familiar with that. We used like an Arduino board, and we could like code little functions to make that work. So yeah, it was a really hands-on experience, and definitely one of my favorite projects that I've worked on. Yeah.
For sure. Did you have any like one specific takeaway from that experience or any of the experiences that you've mentioned?
Yeah, definitely. I'd say communi communication within, like, in terms of the projects, you have to communicate within your team, which is to get things done, which is like something you will learn through experiencing that through projects. And then in terms of internships, it my takeaway was also like communication, but like not not necessarily as much in a team. There is still that aspect of communicating within a team, which is important, but also like communicating for what you want to work on, as well as like presenting the work that you're accomplishing and stuff like that. So definitely communication and engineering go hand in hand, because you're working on teams and you have to present to other people what you're doing.
For sure. Thank you so much. All right, next up, what activities do you participate in outside of your classes at college?
Yeah, that's a good question. Like I did mention before, I do club volleyball outside of school, and that's just one thing that I did join for like enjoyment, for fun. Um, and that's like I was mentioning before, you have to like uh, go out and search for those opportunities that you're interested in to get get involved in that, even if you may not have that experience. Like I wasn't I being a first year at MIT, I wasn't like aware of how things worked either completely. So it was a lot of like going out and finding the kind of activities that I wanted to do. So in the beginning, especially for those of you who may be going into college soon. Definitely at the start, you want to just join as many activities as you want as you can that might interest you, and then just like cutting down on like the stuff that maybe you don't have time for, but sticking with the stuff that you enjoy. Um, so yeah, I'd say that's one of the activities was volleyball, like I was saying, and then um, another one is, let's think. Oh yeah, so in my first year of college, I was doing ROTC, which is for the Air Force, which is like the I don't know if you guys know the ROTC program, but that was like a definitely a fun activity and interest of mine. It was a bit of a commitment, so that goes along. It's kind of like a sports team in a way where you like you're required to like go to certain events and do things, and you learn about like joining the military as well. So that was another activity that I participated in outside of classes. And I feel like these activities that you participate in outside of classes, they will come to you like naturally as well. Like you will definitely be doing stuff outside of classes because you're going to want to pursue the things that you enjoy, and college is definitely the time for you to do that.
For sure. All right, next up, what are your career goals for after college?
Yeah, that's a good question. I mean, like a lot of you are young as well, so um, I know a lot of you guys are young as well, so like you all probably don't have that determined yet. And I guess I'm here to say like, yeah, I'm not fully sure either. And I think we don't have to have that completely set. I will say that I do have like goals in terms of where I want to go. Like that's why I'm pursuing more internships and stuff like that. I want to work on like projects that help people, like use engineering towards helping others. So like this Amazon internship where I worked on Project Kuiper, um, being able to work on something like this and provide internet to people who don't have access to it is like a really cool and fulfilling kind of work experience. So that's the kind of like career goals I'm going towards. um, like I said, obviously everything is always changing, and things are, nothing has to be set, but I think definitely figuring out what you what you gain like motivation from, or like you gain a sense of like purpose or fulfillment, and then going towards that and not worrying about a specific career. Like I think with engineering you or science-based careers, you have a lot of opportunity to pivot to where you want to go. So whether that may be like healthcare, or even like I said, helping people using engineering, or like computer science, you can go into cybersecurity, areas like that. Um, yeah, that's kind of where my career goals are. So and that was just a brief explanation of how I got to where I want to. That's a brief explanation of how I got to deciding what I wanted to do with my career.
Got it. Thank you. Well, yeah, that wraps up our questions that we have prepared previously. So if any of our attendees have any questions that they would like to ask, please feel free to leave them in the chat. Um, I actually got a message earlier from one of our attendees. They want to know what it's like to double major.
Oh yeah, definitely. I think that depends on the school. Um, I personally am not double majoring. My major is electrical engineering and computer science, which at MIT is one major, which is nice. But double majoring is definitely possible at most schools. I'd say it really depends on like how much work workload you're willing to take on because double majoring means you're taking time out of something else and putting that into school. So are you willing to take time out of, let's say, those other activities outside of classes and put that towards classes? In some aspects, it could be worth it. In some ways, it might not. So it's like more of a personal decision, definitely.
Mm-hmm. For sure. Thank you. Let's see. We have another question here. Cindy is asking, how do you balance your academics with your activities?
Yeah, that's a good question. I'd say it was very difficult in the beginning, especially because throughout high school, like certain classes were a little bit easier for me, and in some ways I didn't have a very strict schedule or like wasted a lot of time in high school. In college, I feel like classes get a lot more difficult and you don't have time to waste like as much. So it really comes down to like creating a calendar and a schedule and like sticking to that. So like not like I'm sure you can find a lot of like areas in your life that you're like wasting on things that you don't find as important. And scheduling in your calendar, like the things you want to get done, will make sure you don't have too much free time on your hands and then you start wasting it.
Mm-hmm. Definitely. And let's see. We have any other questions from our attendees? If not, that's totally fine. We can wrap it up. But yeah, I'll just give us a little more time, see if anybody has questions that come up. Okay, so we have a question here. This attendee want to know, how are you able to build relationships with your professors at college?
Yeah, that's a good question. I'd say it is kind of difficult, like because in college a lot of the class sizes are very big, especially compared to high school. Like even though I did go to a pretty big high school, our classes were like, I don't know, 20, 30 people. So you can still like have a close relationship with your high school teachers, but in college, the classes can get pretty big, like 200 people sometimes. So having a relationship is definitely like more on your own shoulders. Like the professor is not going to reach out to you if you're like missing an assignment or something, or you have a question about your grade or something. You have to be the one to go up to them. And I think a good way to approach that is a lot of the professors, at least at MIT, it's required even to have office hours. So that's when the professors are like there to help students with like homework problems or like just general questions. And a lot of people don't go to this, so that's where you would like build your close relationships with professors and like get your more intimate kind of relationship where they start to know about you and you start to learn like maybe what research they're doing or things that they do outside of class. Just because a lot of people don't go to those, and those are definitely the place where you would build that closer relationship.
Mm-hmm. Got it. Thank you so much. But yeah, I think that wraps up our questions for today. So yeah. All right, so here are just some quick reminders for everybody. That our First of all, our magazine is out, so you can check that out at our website, which my lovely co-host has linked to y'all in the chat below. And yeah, here are Scienceholic's socials. So you can access all of our other content on our website. You can follow us on Instagram at Scienceholic Official. And if you have any other questions, feel free to email us there as well. And yeah, to our attendees, if any of you all are interested in working with us here at Scientology, there are a lot of ways to do so. So Ayla has that form for you all in the chat. So at Scientology, we have many different branches. So for example, I am part of the outreach branch, but we also have content editing and art, which are for our magazine. And we also have our social media team, as well as our new AP Toolbox program, as well as the Ambassador program. And if you might not want to join as a member, but you have some writing or art that you would like to share, you can submit them to us for our blog through our email as well. And yeah, if any of you all um, sign up for our email mailing list, you'll get all of our updates for future webinars, magazine updates, etc. Yeah, here are all of our partnering organizations that help to make this engineering conference possible. So a huge shout out to all of them. And yeah, well, that wraps up our engineering conference. So thank you all so much for attending for today. My name is Emma, and it was my pleasure hosting this webinar. And of course, we have to give a huge thank you to Kyran for his time today and for sharing all his lovely advice for us here today. So thank you all so much for attending, and thank you, Kyran, for speaking.
Yeah, thank you all.
Yeah, have a good one, everyone.
Bye.
Bye.